For the last 5 years, ever since the release of Naruto Chapter 700, there's been a lot of fans who've wanted to see a relationship develop between Boruto and Sarada. Some of them are holdovers from the Naruto and Sakura fan shipping, and others want to see Boruto and Sarada get together for the sake of making Naruto and Sasuke a true family. While the Boruto anime, the manga, and the light novels have provided other potential pairing options for Boruto Uzumaki, ranging from the fan favorite Sumire to even Chocho, and even darker, Boruto and Mitsuki being a pairing is also something that's gained traction. The Boruto and Sarada pairing remains a very popular one. In today's video, I want to discuss the possibility of Sarada falling in love with Boruto. So in order to start this off, I feel like we have to look at the anime staff over at Studio Period and the wife of Naruto series creator Masashi Kishimoto himself. When it comes to Studio Period, they made it no secret that they were swinging in one direction in the pairing wars, but a lot of people tend to overlook why Sarada is the preferred choice by Studio Period for Boruto. In order to understand this, we have to go back to an interview that Masashi Kishimoto did after the Naruto manga ended, where he discussed the pairing of Naruto and Hinata. In that interview, Kishimoto revealed that he made the decision to pair Naruto and Hinata at the halfway point in the Naruto series, which is why when Chapter 700 came out, a majority of Studio Period was absolutely livid with them. The reason why? They preferred the traditional shonen pairing of Naruto and Sakura and what it would have represented. In the Boruto anime, Studio Period has done a better job of toning down Sarada's very hot-blooded nature and giving her more moments of affection and caring towards Boruto, whereas when you look at the Naruto and Naruto Shippuden anime, when they got a hold of Sakura Haruno, they took the gag of Sakura hitting Naruto and they just completely repeated it over and over and completely blew it out of proportion in comparison to how it was portrayed in the manga. Now, this also brings us to Kishimoto's wife. She was another person who was upset with Kishimoto over the Naruto Hina pairing because she wanted Naruto to end up with Sakura badly enough that Kishimoto was in the doghouse with his own wife after the chapter came out. The reason why is that Kishimoto often referred to Naruto as a younger version of himself, and he said numerous times that the inspiration for Sakura had been his wife. His wife identified with Sakura and Kushina more than any other character, so when Naruto Chapter 700 came out, his wife put him in the doghouse, and when he tried to tell her that she was the model for Hinata, a character who was the complete opposite of her, she didn't buy it. When you look at these two factors, you can see what Studio Period's done. They've taken Sakura's personality quirks and they severely toned them down for the Boruto anime. This, in the eyes of some fans, is the ideal way for the story to follow the traditional shonen trope, where the protagonist ends up with a hot-blooded female heroine, while also toning Sarada down to fit more the liking of the current generation of fans who see a character getting hit or yelled at as being something that is abusive. Now, this actually ends up being part of the reason why some fans feel that Boruto and Sarada won't work, and I actually find it funny because a lot of these arguments are the exact same ones that people used to make back in the day when it came to Naruto and Sakura. In my opinion, Boruto and Sarada are two highly flawed characters, but it's their flaws, when brought together, that will make them a good couple in my opinion. Going a step further, there are times where Boruto and Sarada's relationship mirrors that of Naruto and Sasuke. Let's not forget, especially among Japanese fans, Naruto and Sasuke was an extremely popular fan pairing. Even here in the West, a lot of people have made jokes about the two of them having a utter bromance. Recreating those elements while doing so with the female counterpart for Boruto could work in bringing these two together. Now, unlike a lot of fans, I don't think we need to see Sarada becoming the love interest for Boruto until around the events of Boruto vs. Kawaki. Now, you might ask, why is this the case? Well, I think it's because our character development is going to be critical, and introducing Boruto as a love interest before then is an absolutely terrible idea. I know the anime has floated out small hints, as well as Boruto the movie and the Boruto manga dropping even more small teasers that Sarada does like Boruto. However, I'll explain to you guys why I think this is a bad idea. Sarada's goal is to become the Hokage. Her ambitions and her drive are strong enough that she doesn't need Boruto to stimulate her own character growth. In Naruto Gaiden, Masashi Kishimoto managed to pull off an entire manga volume where Sarada was the main character in 2015. After Naruto Boruto the movie was released, there were a lot of fans who felt as if Sarada Uchiha was a better written character than Boruto Uzumaki. At the age of 16, when Boruto's fighting Kawaki, Sarada will be 1 year younger than Naruto when he put a stop to the end of the 4th Great Ninja War, and this is going to be important. From a power perspective, Sarada should be on pace to get to the point where she's knocking at the doorstep of at the very minimum being at low Kage level, if not higher, depending depending on her advancement of her ocular dojutsu and the Sharingan. During that time, Konoha has been destroyed. Kawaki appears to be at the center of everything. He's implied to be the one who destroyed Konoha, and the issue of the Kara organization could still be a potential problem during this time period. Hokage Naruto could be dead, or he could be sealed away somewhere. It's during all of this that seeing a more mature Boruto begin to bond with Sarada on a much deeper level could be the catalyst for a relationship blooming. Sarada wants to be Hokage of a village that's been destroyed. The carnage and mass loss of life could lead to her awakening her Mangekyo Sharingan. Boruto could be right there to help her with bringing down her emotions after the fact. A potential rescue arc where they go on a rescue mission to get Naruto from wherever he might be sealed away could be used as a way to better recreate what I feel was a horribly written attempt in Naruto the Last, where the rescue Hanabi arc portion of that movie was meant to bring Naruto and Hinata closer together. Boruto and Sarada would have years worth of legitimate build up, and it wouldn't require a genjutsu to make one party realize their feelings for the others. Now, Boruto is at odds with his father, but he loves him just as much. The reaction that he had to Naruto potentially dying in Boruto the movie, as well as in the anime, is absolute proof of that. Seeing Sarada's worry and taking into account her admiration for her father could be used to have Boruto see Sarada in a very slightly different light. There's something to be said about seeing a shinobi relationship bloom and blossom during a time of war after all these years of peace. For Boruto Uzumaki, it would add another layer of tension where now when he's fighting, he's doing so with the underlying thought of making it back to Sarada in one piece. Any encounters where she might be in trouble, Boruto could be ridden with getting the shonen power up to aid her, and it would be something that's believable, and you could flip that back around on a Sarada so as to keep her from being the damsel in distress. Speaking of Sarada, for her love for Boruto, it could be used as a way to have her struggle internally. She's been so focused on her goal of becoming the Hokage, similar to how Naruto was in his youth, where he didn't realize that he had feelings for Hinata until the genjutsu happened. And when you look at Sarada, it could be the same thing, where she's not fully aware of her feelings for Boruto until something happens. It could be used to provide an internal conflict where she weighs her Hokage dream and her love for Boruto, potentially balancing the two on a scale as she attempts to make both of these work. Doing this in this manner wouldn't turn into a lovesick thumb twiddler that Hinata was. The emotional aspect of it and the emotional impact would work, since it would create tension that would add a different layer to the story. This would also pay off a lot of small tidbits that have been laid down from the foundation from multiple parties. In Naruto chapter 700, Kishimoto wrote Sarada as being highly attentive to Boruto and spying on him from behind a corner, just like Hinata used to do with Naruto, and how Minato used to watch Kushina from above when she didn't notice him. Now, this next moment was introduced to us 3 years later, but chronologically, when you look at the timeline, it actually occurs before Naruto chapter 700. In episode 2 of Boruto, when Boruto's fighting against Awabe, we see Sarada holding her hands in the exact same way that Sakura was often portrayed holding her hands when she's watching Sasuke. And when Awabe begins to pressure Boruto in the fight, Sarada is shown trembling, which is a subtle sign by the animators that she cares for Boruto on a deeper level, though these feelings aren't romantic. After all, she isn't yet a teenager, which is going to be important. Now, as we move further into the timeline, as Boruto and Sarada grow older, there have been a handful of comments by the characters that Boruto and Sarada would either make a good couple, or that one or the other is highly attentive to the other's needs, which is something that is built upon by the Academy arc of the anime and everything afterwards. When Boruto's getting all flustered about his Jogan, and when no one seems to believe him, it's Sarada who notices just how upset he is, and despite her own thoughts about his actions, she gives him a subtle peace of mind by saying that whatever he's talking about, she believes him. The back and forth writing, where one minute they're highly attentive to one another and the next they're at each other's throats, isn't uncommon when you look at the typical shonen formula. Look no further than what happened in the 90s when you look at Yu Yu Hakusho. Yusuke Urameshi will 1 minute piss off Keiko to the point where she shouts at him or she knocks him upside the head, and then the next minute she would be shown being in a very affectionate manner towards him, or where Yusuke would be showing concern for Keiko. Teenagers are a jumble of emotions, which fits the back and forth nature of the writing, because most of us as teenagers don't know what we want and are still learning how to express ourselves in everyday situations. It's why in one breath that we have Sarada calling Boruto a boneheaded idiot, and then in the next minute she's attending to his needs or telling him that she believes in him. Going back to Studio Period for a moment, when you look at the other anime that they produced in the past, whenever they do anime exclusive content, they tend to place the main character and eventually their female love interest in a very close proximity to one another, just like we've seen Boruto and Sarada being placed together quite a bit. More than once we've seen Sarada enter into fits of blushing when it's been an open-ended situation where you can't tell if it was Boruto's words that made her feel like she needed to blush or the situation itself. Looking back at the previous anime that Studio Period's done in the past, this is a tendency that they love, and this is a tendency that they have with a lot of these scenarios. Studio Period, they don't really overthink it when it comes to this type of stuff. They keep it simple when they try to telegraph things, just like what they've done in the past with other anime before the Naruto franchise. When you look at the Boruto anime, they've had characters state that Boruto and Sarada make a good couple, had both characters brush it off, had both characters blush around one another, and had moments like in the field trip arc where Boruto takes note of Sarada's needs and hands her a squid to eat, and right as she takes the squid and as Boruto begins to sit down, Sarada blushes before she turns her head slightly. And the manga Kodachi takes the writing to an entirely different level, being even more blunt than the anime, where more than once he's written moments where Sarada appears to be flat out attracted to Boruto, and the Boruto artist Ikimoto has drawn her in a more seductive way, wearing high heels and a short skirt, while also putting emphasis on her bottom lip being drawn thicker whenever she flirts with Boruto or another character, or most importantly when her attraction to Boruto's being teased. A very close read of the manga reveals that more than once Sarada is shown paying very close attention to Boruto's face and how it changes around other characters, while also being mindful of how his mood begins to shift. She also looks at him in the manga, and when this happens, her eyes are drawn in a very glossed over way, like at the end of the Momoshiki arc, where her eyes get the white glossy inking on a few panels, and she has prolonged eye contact with Boruto out the side of her eyes, or she's turning her head to look at him for long moments of time. When you get to the part of the manga where she openly wonders why Boruto's now suddenly so cool to her, if you look at Sarada's face, she appears to be biting her bottom lip and she's blushing, which are two things that you often see in romance stories that signify the attraction. This is something that we see once again in the Mangina Bandits arc, where Sarada is once again showing biting on something when she's talking to Boruto, but in this case after Boruto runs off, Sarada is biting on her glasses as she thinks of Boruto. Once again, Sarada's eyes are drawn in a glossed over way, and her bottom lip is being drawn larger than usual, which once again is another thing that's associated with romance. Going further into the Mangina Bandits arc, we have one more moment where Sarada is shown in a way that it hints towards her feelings of Boruto while also not compromising her goal of becoming Hokage. At one point she basically throws her duties aside, and instead of taking a major B-rank mission that she's been making a huge fuss about, she says that she ignored it because she couldn't stop thinking about Boruto, and it's for that reason that she abandons her mission to go check on Boruto Uzumaki. After Sumire tells Sarada that she worries the other girls will like Boruto, she then asks Sarada if she likes Boruto as well, and then Sumire says that she herself has a feeling for Boruto, and it's in that time that we see something out of Sarada that resembles jealousy. If you look at it very closely, Sarada is noticeably flustered by Sumire saying that she likes Boruto, with Ikimoto placing emphasis on Sarada looking back at Sumire and having the sweat drop on the side of her face as she looks back at her, which is another small nod to potentially being unsure of her interest in Boruto and now having a potential rival for his love. Looking back at everything, I do think that there's something being set up here, and I do feel as if Sarada discovering her feelings for Boruto at the age of 16 during the uncertainty of the Boruto vs. Kwaki fight and its aftermath after the fact would be the best option, and it wouldn't compromise the story. But I want to know what you guys think about this. What are your thoughts on the Boruto and Sarada potential relationship, and do you think that Sarada will fall in love with Boruto in the future? But as always guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day guys.